2022 marks the 40th anniversary of the little MG Metro, and today on Twin Cam we're going to celebrate that with a look at this 1982 MG Metro 1300 brochure. The standard issue Austin Metro was launched in October 1980 to, frankly, unbelievable levels of fanfare. These little cars were in no uncertain terms the saviour of British Leyland, which at multiple points in 1979 and 1980 was within 6 hours of collapse. But through the 1980s they sold in very good numbers in the UK and helped the renamed and reorganised Rover Group first to profitability, then privatisation in 1988. But back to the turn of the decade, and initially there wasn't an out-and-out sporting Metro. Just as Ford had done with the Fiesta, the sporty-ish model was the 1.3S, but it was always known that there would eventually be a true hot Metro. In the meantime, a few well-known tuning companies such as Janspeed began to work their wonders on the new car and made some really insane creations. But in late 1981, the real star arrived, but it didn't have an Octagon badge. John Cooper Garages, at the time a BL dealer, had worked their magic and looked back to the old Mini Cooper, bringing to the stage a Metro Cooper. The upgrades produced a car with a smidge more power than the old Mini Cooper S, and of course the Mini and Metro share their 4-cylinder overhead valve A-series, so this was very much a successor to the Monte Carlo winner. They got the performance through an exhaust manifold, polished ports, larger inlet valves and a lovely set of twin carburetors. But the problem with the Cooper was the marketing. They wanted to sell them through Wadham Stringer, but BL wouldn't back them, and the warranties were therefore out of the window. They all panicked and the Cooper very quickly died. But BL's problem wasn't the fact that a hot Metro was being produced, but that they didn't want everyone to know that they were developing their own Cooper S standard Metro. And in May 1982, the MG Metro was launched, and this little car was massively significant. The traditional home of MG was Abingdon in Oxfordshire. But during Sir Michael Edwards' rationalisation of BL, the factory was closed, bringing production of MG sports cars to an end. So the launch of the MG Metro saw a revival of the Octagon after 2 years away. And despite people complaining that it wasn't a proper sports car, MG's very basis was with tuned versions of Morris cars. And though this was a Longbridge-built Austin, it's very much the same thing. So the MG name was back, and with it was a distinct change in BL's marketing and public image. For the past few years, the company hadn't really made any performance versions of normal cars, with the V8 Rovers, for example, being marketed more as executive cars rather than performance cars. Further down the range, the TC Marina was replaced with the Ital HLS, and the Mini 1275 GT was dropped following the Metro's initial launch. So the point of the MG was not just speed, but image, and that's what we see here with the pepper pot alloy wheels, red details and side decals. But it's as we turn the page into the brochure itself that it starts to scream, because your best friend will hate you. That's one of my all-time favourite taglines, because it plays on that envy you have when a friend buys a new car, as most hot hatch marketing centres around you, the driver and owner. But that different direction just adds an element to the aura around the MG Metro. And with that is a totally different character to the interior compared to an Austin. Because BL had never been much good at making an impact in the showrooms, until now. Because just in this cut down shot, we have the cachet of a proper sports car badge, a leather wrapped steering wheel, red stitching and these awesome dials. So of their time, but still immensely cool 40 years later. And as we turn the page, we see the full impact of the MG treatment, because there are red carpets and seatbelts, then, as mentioned at the top, the red-piped herringbone seats they describe as rally style. But regardless of that lie, I maintain that these are one of the best compromises between comfort and support in automotive history. They're genuinely brilliant seats, and this is all the point. The MG Metro wasn't a real flying machine, but it was cool. And all these bits, some of which we haven't seen yet, add onto the otherwise very normal Austin Metro to produce what I think is objectively one of the coolest hot hatches of all time. And all this marketing worked because I'm led to believe that around 25% of total Metro production ended up being MGs. It's also on this page that we see the performance modifications laid out, with the standard 1275cc A+ being gifted a freer flowing exhaust, larger valves, a 10.5:1 compression ratio, and a genuinely lumpy camshaft to produce 72 brake horsepower. And while that's not loads, it's on the same page as the old Cooper S, and only 12 horsepower off a Fiesta XR2, despite lacking 300cc. They aren't particularly specific with the modifications, but they do at least tell you what they've done. And I so wish modern car brochures weren't petrified of talking about their engineering. Across here is probably my favourite part of the brochure, because not only do we get to see more of the red detailing, but also the rear end of the car, which I think is its best angle, because that's a great arse for a small car. The back of the standard Metro can sometimes look a little Spartan, but the decal strip at the bottom of the boot lid and the shaded strip below the rear screen really shrink the blank area. Then there are the Metro branded mud flaps, the spoiler that reduces aerodynamic drag, and of course the slash tip exhaust. This is a much larger bore than that on a standard Metro, and the tip is cut off at a 45-degree angle. It's just so cool. And it brings a rasp and cackle to the MG that's absent on the Austins. And altogether, the wing, mud flaps and big exhaust all do give it a bit of a rally car vibe in this shot. In the text at the top, it carries on from the previous page. We see the little 12-inch pepperpot alloy wheel, and it shows that the MG was only available in 6 colours: Cinnabar Red, Black, Aram White, Silverleaf, Zircon Blue and Opaline Green. But at the end we come back to the "your best friend will hate you" vibe again, because this being a metallic finish, it also means that when your best friends peer into the paintwork with amazement and envy, they'll have good reason. It's just the coolest little thing. Next around is another exterior picture, and I want to address the photography here, because there are only 2 photos of the front of the car in this more leaflet than brochure, and neither of them are that great. The one on the front's a bit too moody, and this one's taken from a weird angle, showing off some poor panel gaps and the outrageous ride height. Plus, it's in Silverleaf, one of the boring colours. Cinnabar Red is so bright it's almost orange, so it's odd they chose the silver. But there is one saving grace, and that's one of the very rare Unipart options: the headlamp washers. So with that, we come to the back and all the specifications. If you'd like to read anything on here, then just pause the video now. But I'd like to address this picture of the engine bay. The A-Series is a naturally good-looking engine. It's just pleasing in its layout. And the A+ engines were colour-coded by their capacity. So the 998s were yellow and the 1275s were red. So to match the red block, BL thought they fit a finned, polished rocker cover to the MG's engine. How cool is that? It's immensely rare to see a detailed engine bay, never mind one on a Super Mini. So this is another one of those features that made the little MG Metro one of the coolest hot hatches of all time. And this isn't even the full-fat MG Metro Turbo. The 1300 came out in May 1982, but the Turbo had to wait until October. But in hindsight, I much prefer the naturally aspirated cars. They don't have the plastic body kit, they don't have the trouble of turbocharging, and they were always considered nicer cars, all things considered. A little slower, but that didn't detract from these just being really fun little roller skates. And on that note, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please do click like and subscribe to TwinCam as well. I'm forever indebted to my wonderful Patreon supporters, so if you'd like to support me that way, then please do follow the link in the description, and I'll have more videos coming along soon.